Good day, everyone. We are here today to discuss all about a popular board game named chess. So, what is chess? Chess is one of the oldest and most popular board games played by two opponents on a checkered board with specially designed pieces of contrast colors, commonly white and black. White move first, after which the players alternate turns in accordance with fixed rules, each player attempting to force the opponent's principal piece, the king, into a checkmate, a position where it is unable to avoid capture. So chess was first appeared in India about the 6th century AD, and by the 10th century, it had spread from Asia to the Middle East and Europe. Since at least the 15th century, chess has been known as the royal game because of its popularity among the nobility. The rules and set lines slowly evolved until they reached today's standard in the early 19th century. Now, let us move on for the first piece of the chessboard, the pawns. Pawns are the most basic and fundamental chessmen in the entire game. Though pawns may seem unamusing, pawn strategy and placement can often be the difference between winning and losing a chess game. A pawn is the most common piece on the chessboard. The chess sets contain 16 total pawns. Each player begins the game with 8 pawns set up on the second rank directly in the front of the major pieces, the rooks, bishop, knights, queen, and king. Pawns are considered to be the weakest piece in the game of chess due to their limited mobility. Usually, pawns move one space forward at a time. A pawn is the only piece that may never move backwards. In capturing, the pawn is the only one of the chess pieces can capture other pieces in a method that's different from how it is normally moves. The pawn captures by moving one square diagonally forward to left to right. Now, let us have our second piece of the chessboard. The rook is the second most powerful piece in the chess. It is a long-range piece and it is notorious for delivering back-rank checkmates. When the game begins, each sides start with 2 rooks. The rook begins the game on the corners of the chessboard. The rook can move forward, backward, or sideways, but cannot move diagonally. The rook can move up or down vertically on any file. The rook can also move left or right horizontally on any rank. The rook can move as many squares as it likes as long as it is not blocked by any other piece or square is not occupied.
Knight. It is a piece in the game of chess represented by a horse head and neck. So it moves 2 squares vertically and 1 square horizontally, or 2 squares horizontally and 1 square vertically, jumping over the pieces. So it is much like a horse gallops over obstacles when it moves. Even though he can skip over squares while they are occupied by other pieces, the knight can only capture a piece that is standing on the square he lands on or the tip of the L. So the knight's movement can only be viewed as an L or 7 laid out at any horizontal or vertical angle. Bishop. So a bishop is a chess piece with a rounded top and a slit cut into it. So there are 4 total pieces of bishop on chessboard with each player allocated 2 pieces. So the bishop moves in a way that is opposite to the rook. He can only move diagonally and step on any square that isn't taken up by another piece. So if a bishop starts the game on a black square, he will only be able to step on black squares for the rest of the game. And the same goes for a bishop that starts with a game on white square. Similarly to the other pieces, the bishop can only capture an opponent's piece by landing on the square that the piece is standing on.
queen. The queen is the only piece on the board during a chess game that represents a woman, and she is the most powerful piece of the game. In the game of chess, there is only one queen for each side. The queen is the most valuable piece in the game of the chess and a key component in countless chess strategies. It can move through an unlimited of unoccupied squares in any direction, horizontally, vertically, or diagonally. In other words, the queen's moves combine the moves of the rook and bishop, making it an extremely useful piece. The queen can move as many squares as it likes as long as it is not blocked by another piece or occupied square. The queen can capture an enemy piece by moving to the occupied square. King. In the game of chess, the king symbolizes leadership. The king is the most important piece in chess, and chess strategy often revolves around finding ways to protect your king while threatening your opponents. The king can move in any direction, although only one square at a time. The king can capture any of the opponent's pieces that are standing in any square surrounding the king. This might seem to make the king a versatile piece, but there's a major exception. The king can never move into a square that's being attacked by an opponent piece, wherein the king cannot move to a square where it can be captured. This also means that a king can never be adjacent to another king. While it is important for each player to protect their king, during the endgame, it may become a powerful attacking piece. Checkmate is the end stage of a chess game, which means that the defending king has been placed in a check with no way out. Technically, the king is the only piece that is never captured in a game of chess. As the game ends at the moment checkmate is declared.
Essential to learn the initial setup of the board and pieces to start a chess game. The board must have a light square at its bottom right square. As stated in the previous section, both players start with 8 pawns, 2 knights, 2 bishops, 2 rooks, a queen, and a king. The white pawns goes on the second rank of the board, while the black pawns go on the 7th. The rook, knights, and bishop starts filling up the first rank for white and 8 for black from the outside in. The queen and the king finish the setup.
En passant capture. The en passant is the most confusing rule in the chess for a beginner player. It is a special type of rule that allows pawns to capture other pawns in the following conditions. First, the capturing pawn is 3 ranks away from the rank where it started the game. Secondly, an enemy pawn on an adjacent file moves forward 2 squares in one move, landing right next to the capturing pawn. Third, the en passant capture happens on the turn immediately after the one when the pawn being captured lands next to the capturing pawn. So, if all of the conditions are true, the attacking player can choose to make the en passant capture. The attacking pawn moves 1 square diagonally, landing 1 square ahead of the captured pawn.
What is a pawn promotion? If pawn reaches to the opposite side of the board, it can be promoted to a piece of a player's choosing, a rook, a bishop, a knight, or a queen, and is immediately replaced by the new piece. In this scenario, it is rare for anything other than the queen, the most powerful piece, to be chosen as the replacement.
One other special chess rule is called castling. This move allows you to do 2 important things all in one move. First is to get your king to safety, and second, get your rook out of the corner and into the game. On a player's turn, he may move his king 2 squares over to one side and then move the rook from that side corner to right next to the king on the opposite side. However, in order to castle, the following condition must be met. First, it must be the king's very first move. Second, it must be the rook's very first move. Third, there cannot be any pieces between the king and the rook to move. Fourth, the king may not be in check or pass through check. Notice that when you castle one direction, the king is closer to the side of the board. That is called castling kingside. Castling to the other side through where the queen sat is called castling queenside. Regardless of which side, the king always moves only 2 squares when castling.